This is Product Biz Made Easy, episode 23, and today I'm talking to Alyssa Thomas. She is the founder and CEO of Penguin and Fish. Oh my goodness, you guys, I had her on to go through how she got into the big box retail stores on her own and very quickly. But the conversation took an interesting turn when we went through her email autoresponder sequence and her launch process. I'm not kidding. This episode is packed with so much wisdom. You're going to want to put your earbuds in and stay along for the ride. So we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome to the Product Biz Made Easy podcast, where we help you scale your product-based business. Your award-winning host and serial entrepreneur, Becky J. Anderson, created an 8-figure product-based brand that was sold all over the world and in big box retail stores. Each week, she will be sharing sales strategies, marketing advice, or inspiring interviews to help you scale your product-based business. Now, on to the show. Okay. Hey, Alyssa, thank you so much for coming on the Product Biz Made Easy podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're super excited to have you. So tell us, for those that don't know who you are, tell us about your business and, just all about it, how you got into it and what it is and what you do.
All right. I'm the owner and designer of Penguin and Fish, and we make embroidery craft kits for the beginning crafter, and we sell them in our online store at penguinandfish.com and in boutiques and a couple of mass retailers.
That's awesome. I love your business. I'm excited for you to share it with the listeners. So tell us, how did you get started in this?
Well, I am an artist by trade. I went to art school and I love crafting so much. I was always a crafter when I was little, always making something. And after school, I just wanted to keep doing that. I worked as an illustrator for a little while. And there was something, though, about everything being on the computer that I was missing the tangible aspect of it all. So I started making stuffed animal toys and selling them on Etsy back in the early days of Etsy. And then I realized I missed drawing again because making the animals, I was just basically sewing. I wasn't drawing as much. And I'm like, okay, how can I bring my love for craft and drawing together? And I thought, well, embroidery, that works really well for that. So I started drawing some things for embroidery, and I only like doing things once. So I thought I would make patterns out of them, because then I can do it once and still have something to sell in my Etsy shop. So I gave myself a project, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to draw an animal for every letter of the alphabet. So I did that and started selling them as PDF patterns on Etsy. And this is like at the beginning of Twitter and stuff too. So I followed crafters on there, and they're like, are you going to the International Quilt Market? It's in your town this year. I'm like, International Quilt Market? What is that? So that is a trade show for the quilting industry, which is a huge industry. And I'm like, oh, wow, sure, I'll go do that. So I it's a trade show. I don't even know if I've heard of a trade show before. So I just signed up. Then kind of figured it out that like, oh, I need a booth. I need to decorate that booth. And I wasn't even done with this whole alphabet yet. So I'm like, okay, let's finish that up. I'll turn some of these into kits. And I made a quilt out of all the finished embroideries. And then I'm like, well, I want to make my own. I'm not going to put my other people's fabric on this. I want to make my own fabric. And this is at the beginning of Spoonflower, which is a online fabric printer. So I designed a bunch of fabric, and I made this quilt out of there and made these kits to sell. And then I did this trade show and got a bunch of stores to buy the kits, and I got a licensing deal for fabric, and it was just amazing. So that kind of introduced me into the world of selling to real boutiques and just trade shows and all that.
Wow, what a story that you were so successful out of the first trade show. That's incredible.
Well, I didn't even know what it was. And I got lucky because it happened to be in my town. So I didn't have to pay for lodging and transportation, which is just a huge expense for trade shows. So I got lucky.
Yeah, trade shows are so expensive when you add the travel and shipping all the inventory and stuff in there. Well, that's awesome. So that's how you got started doing the kits. How long ago was that?
Had to be at least 8 years ago, I think now. Maybe around 8 years ago.
Okay. So 8 years is kind of when you started with the kits and the alphabet, the animals, because you're still doing the animals and the alphabet, right?
Yeah, a lot of those patterns are still some of our really best sellers.
That's great. So is your most successful product the little kit where you have the embroidery thing and you include the thread and the hoops? And
for sure. So our kits have everything you need to get started with embroidery. It's all for beginners and stuff too. So it has the fabric, the needle, the hoop, everything in there. And that really has been our best seller for sure. We've actually started eliminating almost everything else and just really focused on the kits. And they're really gifty and stuff too. So that's why people like them. But yeah, having everything in there all at once has definitely been something that people like.
So it's either a self-purchase or a gift. That's great.
Yep.
Okay, so you go to the trade show and you get all these orders, and then what? How did you fill all the orders? Had you planned that far ahead? Had you worked all that out, the manufacturing and the filling of those orders?
That we kind of did. I didn't know what to expect. So I knew that, okay, I could measure floss. I could buy a bunch of floss and measure it, and I could put some fabric together. And I had found a printer who would do the iron-on transfers. So because I have a graphic design illustration background, I was used to working with printers. I'm very much I can figure it out, or other people have done it.
You can do it.
Figure it out too. Yeah.
That's good.
I had confidence that we would figure it out. And by we, I mean my husband and I. We kind of work on this together. So it's a lot of we's.
That's great. That's always fun to work together.
But yeah, so I just figured we could figure it out. And so I think those first few orders were probably just me and him. And then we would hire a friend here and there to help assemble things. And then we had to get to hiring people I didn't know as much. And so that was interesting. And we got, a couple of people coming in part-time working on that. And that was basically the deal. It wasn't tons and tons of orders. So it was manageable at first, for sure.
Yeah, I know. People think, okay, you come away from a trade show with hundreds of orders. You really don't. You come away with maybe dozens of orders and lots of contacts. Isn't that exactly what you found there? Yeah. But at least it got you a start, and then you get going from there. So what did you do after that trade show? Did you go back and do it again, or how have you been marketing your business since that trade show?
Yeah, so for a few years, we did that one trade show, the International Quilt Market. And then I think a lot of trade shows are doing this now, but they weren't as effective, I guess, anymore. Like there wasn't as many sales at the market and that sort of thing. And for me, it was just taking so much time and energy. There was 2 a year. So for the International Quilt Market. And it was just kind of like me with the help of my husband a little bit. So it was a lot of work. And I was doing 2 fabric collections a year at that point too. And so I just feel like all my time and energy went into the fabric collections and going to these trade shows, prepping for that. So I didn't feel like I was thinking about the future or what I want to do with these kits as much. So I ended up stopping to go to the trade show. And I also stopped the fabric after a while too. And when I did both of those and just focused on the one product really, that's where I, started contacting more stores and just really focusing. And I feel like that's when kind of the business started to get figured out a little bit once I deleted those other things.
It's when you go all in on something that works and then put systems and processes in place. It's amazing what can happen, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's really been my focus over the past couple of years, is just eliminating things. I mean, because I am still just a person. I don't have tons of employees in place, like doing a lot of things for me yet, but So I'm like, okay, I really had to analyze what's working and what's not. So I had to, like, in film, they call it killing the babies.
Yeah.
I had to, in the editing room. So I had to just stop doing some things that, even though I love, they weren't doing as well. So we really honed back and just did the kits. And, we even honed back. It wasn't just for what products we made. It was who we were trying to get to sell the products to. So one thing I noticed after a while is that, well, first of all, it's even just to get into small boutique stores, it took so much work. And there wasn't that much of a return at the time for the amount of work that just me was putting in, because I had to do all the other stuff of the job too. So I'm like, why don't I start to try and get some bigger retailers, just because why not? Let's just start throwing that into my contacting routine. And when we got our first big retailer, we got into Joann Fabrics. And I'm like, this is like the same amount of work as trying to get all these small boutiques as well. So at that point, then we really started to push the mass retailers a little bit more. So now I'm bringing in more contacting smaller boutiques again, but even that we had to eliminate what are we working on, like what's working and what's not.
It's that old adage, the 80-20. When you say focusing on your kits, it's like that's what is making money for you. So it's like flying to the roots that make money. And that old adage, 20% of your products will bring in 80% of your volume is so true. But then it's also true with the customers. 20% of your customers will bring in 80% of your volume.
Oh, that's
so going to the bigger accounts just makes sense if you can handle all of the criteria that they have for shipping with the EDI and the ASNs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was a challenge.
Yeah. But like once you've done it a couple of times, you've got that down pat, but pretty good. So did you just start approaching Joann's? How did you get in there?
That's what I did. I just started, I may have contacted them on an online form. That may be the start of what I did. This is a few years ago, but I probably just went to their website and went onto their online form and introduced myself and who's the this and that buyer, and through just back and forths for a while, found out who to contact and started sending them samples. And I think it took a couple of years before we actually got in there. So, and it was just all right place at the right time. I mean, you have to keep sending them stuff so they're thinking about you when it's the right place at the right time.
And the thing with big box retailers, you want to be sending samples when they're buying, and they're buying a year ahead. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't know. So I've had clients ask me this time of year, can I get into a big box retailer? And I'm like, they made that decision last year or at the beginning of the year for Christmas.
Yep.
So it does. So I get that. It took you 2 years because you probably went through they're getting to know you. They're reviewing the samples. Then the way it works, the buyers get the samples and set up in a mock store. So they pull samples in and out because they can look and see what their floor is going to look like. And so you were probably going through all that process the first year, and then it takes a while to get the orders in. And then they give you the POs 6 to 8 months out, right?
Oh yeah. And with Joann's, they were doing a revamp of their store. So that's why we kind of got in that. But then, so we met with them at their offices, and we got EDI set up, and we got all these things set up, which was all a lot. And then they decided to postpone that store revamp for a year. So then we didn't get anything that year. So it wasn't until the next order or the next year that they contacted us again. They're like, hey, we're doing it now. So we had all this stuff set up and then, didn't get an order.
Let me tell the listeners, EDI is electronic data interchange for those of you that don't know. And if you work with a big box retailer, you have to be set up on EDI because it's how you get your orders. So they push their orders through EDI, and then it's like a computer system that will talk to you. And then in return, those products are scanned at the retail level, and then that EDI talks to the buyer so they know what products are gone and what they need to reorder. So when you get an order from a big box retailer, you'll get what they call your initial fixture fill, which will set the store. And then according to their sales and the EDI data, you will get reorders based on what they sell, as long as your program's on the floor and they have plans to keep you in there. So you should get weekly or biweekly replenishment orders so that the retailers always have inventory and stock at their store level, because the worst thing that could happen for them is to have holes in their space, because they get analyzed by sales per square inch, not sales per square foot. So they do not want to have empty slots on their shelf. So just a little side note there. Sorry, Alyssa.
Oh, no. And even just EDI, I mean, first of all, there are so many acronyms. So I'm, Googling acronyms.
Yep. Advanced shipping notices. Yep.
Yes. So that's like every day just Googling, okay, they're speaking in code again to me, and I have to figure out what all these things mean. And then you have to find your own EDI provider, and, so you don't even know what questions to ask because it's totally a foreign concept. And so that's what the whole doing a big retailer process has been. Just what are we even talking about?
You can outsource your EDI to a third party and they'll charge you per line, or eventually you can bring it in-house. We brought it in-house, so we had an employee that just full-time did the EDI on all of our orders. Another note for the listeners too, the EDI also prints out the labels for the boxes so that when the boxes get shipped, they get broken down into individual DCs, which is the distribution centers for these big box retailers. So yeah, like Alyssa said, there's a lot of acronyms and a lot of stuff that goes on with the big box retailers, because they do speak in a foreign language with those acronyms.
I kind of love that though. I love learning new things, and it's like a superpower, every new thing you learn. So I get a thrill out of, every acronym that I find out, I feel excited.
Yeah. Then you know them all, and there's pages of them. They're really.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like even the terms end caps and fixture fills and, all that. A fixture fill is filling up the shelves,
Yeah,
But yeah, it does take a bit to learn them all. So you have been selling to Joann's. Now you've added Target to the mix. Tell us about that. How did you get through it? That's a dream for a lot of listeners. I've had a lot of clients ask me, how do I get into Target?
Oh, and I am so thankful that we got into Joann's first, because Target is 10 times the amount of stores.
Yep.
And
10 times more complicated.
Yes. With Joann's, since it was smaller, there was more of a personal contact thing, and that kind of went away a little bit with the Target. So that, and like 20 times more acronyms to figure out and stuff. And so that, I'm so grateful that I had that other experience first. So with Target, again, we went to LinkedIn, found the buyer of that section, and straight contacted them. Target is in our hometown, so we've done like freelance work for them. So we knew their email format, and I think you can actually Google that now. What's the email format for, and then whatever store, and it'll give you some clues. But so we guessed. We found this person on LinkedIn, guessed on the email, and I had to send like a couple emails just to because I wasn't sure of the naming format ultimately, and. She emailed the buyer emailed back within the week to set up a phone call. So again, our timing must have been just
perfect.
Yes. So we talked to her on the phone that week and sent her samples of the same week. And then, got on her planogram. So that, timing was great.
Yeah. Alyssa, let me tell, that's perfect. And you were so lucky on that. But let me tell the listeners also, when you say email format, so the big box retailers all format their email the same way. So for example, some of them will put the buyer's first name and then a dot and then their last name, or some will go their first initial, then their last name, and then at Target or at Kohl's or at Bed Bath Beyond. It's whatever their format is, but it's always the same. So that was pretty brilliant and stealth-like what you did, going to LinkedIn and figuring out who the buyer is. Because I'll tell you one thing about the buyers. I always say they have the power of the pen. They can write millions of dollars. So they kind of have egos that go with it. So they tend to like putting their titles on LinkedIn. So it's a good hack to find them on LinkedIn if you can figure out the email system at the store they work for.
Well, and I just figure, on LinkedIn too, everyone's putting all their information out there for whatever their next job's going to be and stuff too. So they want that clout and stuff too. So yeah, you can usually find specific buyers. I mean, you don't get the email from LinkedIn, but you can guess.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing about the buyers, because I was in this space for 20 years. The buyers bounce from store to store. They get recruited away or they move to other departments. So it's like your buyer at Shopko in 3 months or 3 years will be your buyer at Cracker Barrel, or, they just move around. And I'm not kidding. I can't tell you how many buyers I had with multiple department stores. So It's like, once you have that contact with that person, and then, you know what, the cool thing you should do is make sure you get the LinkedIn contact with the buyers after you've worked with them. Then you'll be able to follow them. So once you've had that contact, definitely do that. So I still have a lot of buyers on mine from that very reason.
I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
Then you can see their friends or whatever they're called on LinkedIn.
And when they move. And I'll tell you one thing too, the big box retailers typically move the buyers every 3 to 5 years. Even if they stay at the same store, they move them out of that department because they don't want them getting too comfortable with their accounts, because then that's when you get issues of favoritism or Christmas gifts and stuff like that. They're not allowed to accept anything like that anymore. And it's amazing what people will do and give to buyers to get an order in their place. So they don't want those relationships to get too strong, the higher ups.
Wow.
You wait, your buyer at Target will not be there in 3 years.
Yeah,
they'll be in another department.
Oh, exactly.
Serious. They moved my Kohl's buyer into bras. That's how crazy they do this. So yeah, I've never seen one stay more than 3 to 5 years. They'll definitely they'll get promoted or pulled into a different department.
Yeah, from what we've heard, it can be totally random too. Like the electronics buyer will now be the junior clothing buyer or something, Yeah,
they totally yank them out of the different spaces. It's amazing. But then they get totally cross-trained too in a bunch of different verticals. So yeah, it works.
I always thought that'd be a fun job.
I know. I do too.
Looking at trends and just buying fun stuff.
I say that every time I go in a store. I would love to be a big box retail buyer. But, we're not. We do what we do, right?
Yep.
But we'd probably love it for a month, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'd be sad having to work for someone else. I like doing my own thing.
Yeah. So how is it going working with Target? You've only been in there just this year, right?
Yes. So we're kind of wrapping up our first year there. They're doing their next planogram. So we've sent a whole pile of new samples to them. We're changing our packaging. It's way more gifty now. I'm super excited about it. So we've sent them all our new packaging, just tons of stuff. And now we're in kind of the waiting game of it all again.
Yeah, that's how it works. But you have one advantage in that you're in there, you're set up as a vendor, you've delivered, you haven't had chargebacks, so you've got a good advantage there. But it's always a process, because like I said, anybody can get the order, can you get the reorder and keep getting in there. And you are doing really well at doing new iterations and continually improving your product, which they're seeing with what you've sent in as the new samples. So I'm sure you won't have any problems. But amazing that you were able to just get that from a LinkedIn contact. So I know that's going to be a lot of inspiration to the listeners here.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of our go-to thing now. Just can we find a buyer there? And we've been able to get in contact. And honestly, even just the customer form or the form on the website, that has actually just been effective too. So it just seems so silly, but the customer service will be like, okay, yeah, you need to talk to this person. And, you can get a direct contact sometimes through there. And just if one buyer on LinkedIn didn't respond, then I tried two others. And
yeah, let me tell you another hack I just thought of that you should do. And the listeners would probably like, okay, we all know Amazon is about 48 to 50% of all online sales. And the big retailers are filling that because they're losing business to Amazon. So all the big retailers are starting to have bigger internet presence or online presence, and they're getting the omni-channel buyers. So the omni-channel buyers are the buyers for the online side. So for example, a good place to start would be contacting the online buyer and getting your product online in the store. And then what happens when the online buyers meet with the other buyers, the inline buyers will hear about the successes that are happening online. And then you're already set up because you're online, and then it's a lot easier to get in. And that's a good way to break into a lot of them. So say, for example, if you're trying to get into Michael's and you haven't been able to connect with a buyer or get in there because they have a big craft department also, try getting into Michaels.com on their online. And then it's an easy segue in. Another place you would probably do really well with your kits is in Walmart.com.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The lesser down version than what you're doing at Target. So they're different than the ones at Target. So Target won't get mad you're there. But yeah, you could probably move big volume through Walmart.com. And the other thing is too, it takes a year to get in line on the floor, whereas it can only take weeks or a month to get in and set up as an online account. Might be worth trying to do to see if you could even get in on some of them for the holidays.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I just thought of that, so I thought I would throw that out there.
Putting it on my list.
Yeah. So you're working on growing. Okay, so I want you to share with the audience, because you're in one of my masterminds, and we have talked in the mastermind about your launch process and how incredible it is. And I think the listeners would love hearing about how you do your launches, because you've had some real success online with your own business, which is great because I love seeing you diversify to have 5 revenue streams, and you're really pushing your online side. So tell us about that.
Yes. So we did stop focus on online for a while just to contact these big box stores, but now we're definitely adding it back in because I'm just in the zone now of what if all the mask goes away and I need to have my online people, souped up and buying and whatever. So I don't have to rely on these big stores anymore, because that's scary because any of them could leave at any point. So I've really started focusing again on just like my online people. And one thing I do is I do a Facebook Live every night, like a crafting Facebook Live. And that's been helpful just to get directly in touch with people. So I have people that come on every night and watch that. So I
love it. So tell us about that. You go live every night on your Facebook page. Every single night, 7 days a week or 5 days a week?
I used to be 7 days a week, but now I just do 5 days a week during the week. So I have a weekend now.
Do you always do the same time, or do you just do it when you do it?
Nope, I do it the same time every night. And when I started, I just experimented with what worked or like what I wanted to do, and I thought, I could maybe teach something or talk about a topic. And all that took so much work to prep and plan. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep up with it if I have to do that. So what it is now and what it's been for a few years now is just a crafting time. I'm just going to work on a project for about an hour, and you can come in and hang out or make the project with me, or, I know people sometimes just listen to me and do their laundry. And
that's awesome. And what a great way to build your audience, because they're getting to know, like, and trust you as they watch you do this craft and do it along with you.
And that's, I think, a huge part of the launch process is the know, like, and trust. And then, I'm teaching at the same time as that, like, if we work on an embroidery project, I'll show them how to do stitches, or, a lot of people have trouble with the French knot embroidery stitch. So what are the 3 things that you're probably doing to make a net work? Or, so there is a lot of education along the way, and a lot of experimenting and a lot of like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but let's just give it a try. And I think people like that a lot. Just, it makes them not have to, it makes them a little bit braver for trying something, because I'm just trying it online. And since it's every night, I can just experiment a little bit. And if I totally fail at something one night, we don't have to do it the next night, or maybe we dig into it, or I educate myself a little and come back.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been great for just building that, the like, know, and trust. So for the launch process, another thing that goes with the know, like, and trust is my email list. So I focus a lot of, I have autoresponders. So those are the emails that I've written before, and I have them all lined up. So when someone's a new subscriber, they'll get these like emails drip to them. And all of those are the know, like, and trust things, and to get to know me more and my voice and that sort of thing. So
how many emails do you have in that sequence?
Oh, I have about 20 or so. And I just if I end up hearing someone having trouble with something, and I think, oh, you know what, more people would like to hear that, I'll write up an email and I'll just add it to that autoresponder.
So if somebody joins your list, I'm going to ask you questions so the audience will understand what it is.
Sure.
If somebody joins your list, then they get the, hey, welcome. And then they go into a sequence. So for the next 20 weeks, they're going to get an email from you.
Yes.
How it works. And then if you have a sell or a promotion, you just send it in addition to what's going on in the drip.
Exactly.
So every new person starts at the first spot.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, very good.
And those ones aren't very salesy. They're more, and you know what? My emails don't have, in the craft industry, there's so many emails that just go out with just pictures of like what's happening on the web, or just, here's a quick update and stuff. I knew I didn't want to do that because everyone was doing that. So my emails are more written. They're more like a personal story, or just talking to people, like a long written thing. And then there'll be some images for reference and that sort of thing. But it's definitely more of a story and talking directly to that person.
How long did it take you to get it all done and set it up?
Oh, it took a while. I mean, it's actually a few years old. I should go in and update it, but I think the content's really good yet. My first email is really important. I took a class ages ago that had this email format, and I thought it was brilliant. So the first email that people get from me, I mean, I do talk about, what to expect and from my emails and that sort of thing. But the main thing about my first email is I ask them 2 questions. And one is like, what do they struggle with most when it comes to crafting? And then the second question is, what would it mean to you to have that solved? And it is so amazing, the emails I get from people.
Wow.
Just telling, and then I can see trends and stuff with what people are writing me back. But people are so open. And I mean, you wouldn't think that. Like in my head when I was starting, or when I started sending that out, I thought, oh, people are going to have trouble with this stitch, and they're going to want to know how to do that, or want to know where to buy whatever fabric. That's what the problems are going to be. But they were like these insightful, like emotional answers about the biggest thing that I get from people is not having time, like not having enough time to do what I want. And, things like,
you know what? That's so funny, because that's mine too. My clients are not, how do I get into a big box retailer? How do I do this? I hear it from almost everybody. How do I organize my time? To the point
Yep.
I even did a course on it, because I get asked that much. And that's so funny. You get the same question.
Oh yeah. And I write emails all about that now, finding more time. And, what this does is it gives you what to write about. And it is
Right.
not what I thought it was going to be. So now I write about, how to find more time, or how to get over the feeling of having to be perfect when you start a project, or, how to not have tons of projects laying around and how to actually finish some of them. So it's all based on those questions that people are saying. And
so then you're loaded with content for your blog posts and your lives because you're answering the questions people are asking. I love it.
Oh, for sure. I have no feeling of not knowing what to do for content. For me, it's just the time of actually making the content. But no, I literally have an endless supply.
What percentage of people that get on your list will reply and answer that for you?
Oh, gosh, I don't know percentage, but I get emails every day.
A lot? Okay, so daily you're getting emails.
Oh, yeah, several daily. And they are just, it's like they're talking, and they are. I mean, it's like they're just talking right to me and I'm talking back to them. And it is so personal. And I think it's the style of email with just all the writing, like writing directly to them. And because they're telling me what their issues are, I know that's going to be the issue for a bajillion other people. So when I write emails on those topics, I think people feel like, oh my gosh, that is exactly how I feel. Thanks for writing that. And that, helped me today and, made me feel not alone and all those things. And so I think people get a really close personal connection from that.
That is so powerful.
Then it's supplemented with the Facebook Lives, which is
that was my next question. Let me ask you this. You're doing the daily Facebook Lives. Is that the only thing you're doing to grow your list and get people on this list? Or are you doing ads to get people to your opt-in so you can get them on the list?
I haven't done that a lot yet. And that's kind of my next thing. I do have a blog that I don't update as much as I want to anymore, but there is good content on there. And I do have my email sign up there. So I do get some from there. I actually get some from YouTube now because I put my, you
put your lives daily on YouTube.
Yep. So I upload them on YouTube after they're done. I'm working on a system that I can do live on both places at once soon. So,
that's great.
But yeah, so I've been getting some people like, oh, I saw your video on YouTube and thought I'd sign up. So I'm getting a lot of people from there now. But yeah, hopefully this month, really, I'm going to try and push more ads. But it has been more just from content that I've been putting out.
Well, and you're consistently going live, and then you have your email sequence set up. So you're taking care of the people that come on. So it's brilliant. So it segues into why your launches are so stinking successful. And I got you on the email. We went down the rabbit hole of the email because it was so powerful. And I knew that I wanted you to share that with the audience. But now that you have that email list, let's talk about the launches that you do because they are so powerful. And I'm excited for the audience to hear about how you do them.
Yeah. So for the launch, it's totally taken from the Jeff Walker book called Launch. And I have a friend in the industry who does this super successfully. So I'm like, okay, it works in the industry. I'm going to give it a try too. So it's a series of emails, basically. It's described as a sales page, like a big, long sales page, like telling you all the benefits of all the stuff and whatever, but it's basically split into emails.
Okay.
So the first part of the process is, at least for me, the one that did really well for me was I did an embroidery, like a starter kit, basically. So like all the supplies to get going with embroidery, like scissors and floss and all that, like a bundle. The first thing is you do like your pre-emails or what do they call it? Like your pre-launch. So a lot of that is just kind of putting out the idea to people and getting their input. Yeah. So by getting their input on what they would like in this product, makes them feel like they're part of the product. And that helps them want it. So just getting people's feedback, like, hey, I'm working on this project. I'm thinking it'll be this and this and this. And then getting their feedback. And I actually made some changes to the product based on that. So I'm not just like doing that, fake. I'm actually taking their advice or like I'm thinking through that. So I'm doing that. And then I'm doing it's videos too. So I did some videos kind of proposing that project and what they would like to see and getting that out there. And then it's also the big thing with it is you're teaching along the way. So you're not just taking,
Right.
You're not just saying, hey, I'm having a sale, give me your money. It's you're teaching along the way. So with this last one I did, it was I have 3 kits that I was retiring because I'm going to get the new packaging and stuff. So I'm going to retire these. I'm not going to print these 3 kits again. And so that, first of all, builds a scarcity.
Right.
People, they're not going to be able to get any more. So this is the time. You want to build in that to it. But it's the education part. So I'll introduce that I'm thinking about this as an idea. Then I'll do some video education and education in my emails. Like, hey, this embroidery kit uses this stitch and you might not know how to do it. I'm going to walk you through, come to my live video, ask all your questions. And so the next few emails after the preliminary stuff of just asking what people want is some education. So you're giving. It's about giving people something. You don't want to just take. So you give like exponentially to them. Because then when you do ask for the sale, which is what the next emails are all about, then they're going to feel like, oh, wow, I got something from you. I should reciprocate.
Yeah.
So that's a big aspect of it, making them feel like they got something for free. So then they feel like, oh, maybe I should support you now because you gave me all that stuff for free.
Yeah.
So then you do the email, the actual sales emails. So one very important thing is that it has to have like a time limit. It can't just be a forever sale. People need to know that it's just in between this time.
For 3 days or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll do an email saying like, here's the launch. Make sure you're there at this day or at this time on that day. I only have so many of these kits left, building in that scarcity and offering a big deal. So one of the things with that one that did really well is I had a really cute bonus item. So you were only going to get this bonus item during the sale. It wasn't going to be available after that. And I know because a lot of people have told me that they only bought the bundle.
Because they wanted the bonus.
Yeah, because they want the bonus. So now I always try and have some bonus item. I don't always say what it is, but if it's really good, then I'll show people like, yep, and here's the bonus item, and you only get it during this time. And that works really well. So I always try and have like a really good bonus item, and it might just be part of what might be good in the product, but isn't necessary. So you might have, you maybe were going to have it anyway. But as a bonus item, as an extra, it might work for you a little bit more. So I had like this just really cute little drawstring bag that they could put all the stuff in. That was the bonus item. And it had a cute design on it that you could stitch if you wanted. So people really like that.
How fun. They could take their projects anywhere and work on them in the car or wherever.
Yep. So a lot of people just bought this expensive item just because they wanted this cute little bag that wasn't going to be available online or anywhere after that. So you build that scarcity and the good bonus items, and you always want to give more than what you say you're gonna. So when people bought it, I gave them a couple extra bonus items as well. But then on that last day, you send them a pile of emails. Like, don't feel bad about sending your reminders out. They're not going to care that they got 3 emails that day, like reminding you that it was done. That
it's ending, like one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one just right before it closes. Is that kind of what you do?
Yeah, exactly. And I did a new thing, this last one I did, where a couple days later, I emailed all the people who clicked on anything in my emails during that week.
Okay.
So if anyone clicked on that email, and you can set that up when you're in your email program.
Who do you use? What provider?
I use Active Campaign.
Okay.
I used to use used MailChimp, and I used, another one. Aweber. And then now I've switched to ActiveCampaign just because it does a really good job at setting up your autoresponders. And you can do like, if this, then that sort of scenarios. And so I like it so far. There's a lot more that I can dig into.
That's great.
In that program yet, but I haven't yet.
What percentage of your sales are on that last day? A big percent? Because a lot of people procrastinate.
Oh, yeah. So it's mostly on the first day.
Okay.
And then you're going to get a couple filtering through the middle, and then a lot the
last day. Yeah. That's just kind of the MO for people.
Yeah.
That's great.
Then this last time with that email, I'm going to do this from now on too, but anyone who clicked, I sent another email later after the sale was done and said, hey, it looks like you might have been interested in this thing. Well, I'm going to extend it for just a few special people, and you're one of them. And you'll still get the bonuses. It's not listed on the site anymore, but don't worry, you'll still get the bonuses because, just for you, because the few people that I'm sending this to.
The retargeting of the people who
clicked and I got a few more people bought that day. So I'm like, oh, dang, okay, I'll do that from now on.
It works. So how long does this whole process take for those that are listening?
It takes me a while to set up. It is a lot of writing. It's a lot of emails. So it's about
from the first email to the last email. How long, is it like weeks or?
No, it's like a week.
1 week.
Yeah. And maybe a week before then I'll put out that feeler email of,
and how many total emails are in that week?
About, let's see, maybe 6 or 7.
Okay. So the introduction and then kind of educating them along the way in the middle, and then 3 on the last day.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, and you've been so successful with it. That's why I wanted you to share it. So you continually do it over and over. Can you recycle it? Like you said, it takes time to set up. I get that, but can you use a lot of the copy in each month as you redo this?
I can. So I'm setting up more of a template for me that I can just copy and paste. I mean, everything's a little unique, so you got to adjust things and you got to take photos. But yes, it's generally the same process. It has been going faster and faster every time I do it. But I found that this process works better, like so much better than me just saying there's a sale or me having an ad to a product or anything like that. This has by far worked the best, like building up a certain, special that I'm having.
Yeah.
Than doing this whole email sequence and videos and stuff to that special versus me just having a sale by far. Like this is what I depend on for my sales during the month. Anything else that filters in is like bonus sales.
You have to have a promotion every month to get people off the sidelines and to purchase. So you're smart to do this every month. You really are.
I'm trying to do them bigger and better and more now.
Yeah. You've got to have a reason to get them off the list. So that's a mistake a lot of product-based business owners make. They don't have promotions, but you absolutely have to have promotions every month to get people moving and to get people to join your list. So that's great. Well, Alyssa, you have shared so much wisdom with us on this podcast. I can't believe we've talked so long. This is going to be a long one, but I'm grateful for you sharing so much with us. And where can people find you?
Oh, I am at penguinandfish.com, and I'm Penguin and Fish everywhere. So Penguin and then A&D written out and Fish. So Facebook, my Facebook Lives are on the Penguin & Fish Facebook page. I'm at Instagram at Penguin and Fish, and then penguinandfish.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Alyssa. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Becky.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Product Biz Made Easy podcast. Now, don't forget to hop on over to BeckyJAnderson.com and grab your free strategy roadmap, as well as check out all the resources and things that there are over there to help you grow your product-based business. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.